All right. Well, Dan, thank you so much for being here with us. Appreciate your time and willingness to share. And you've been doing some really interesting things with Thinglink VR and Breakout EDUs. But before we get into that, can you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Certainly. Well, my name's Dan Gallagher. I'm from New Jersey. My district loves long titles, and so I'm a teacher resource specialist for technology, basically a tech coach. I work with the teachers in my district incorporating technology in their classroom. When I first started, I was with the elementary teachers and incorporating iPads. I was able to graduate up to the middle school. I now work with the middle school teachers, and we're one-to-one with Chromebooks.
Oh, cool.
Um, And so I'm able to go in there, co-teach, meet with them during planning time to figure out how to fit technology into what they teach.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. So now, talking about Thinglink and Breakout EDUs, tell us a little bit about how you got involved with that.
Certainly. I'm a certified educator with Thinglink. I went through a couple years ago, they had a summer teacher challenge, and you had different tasks that you completed to figure out how you can incorporate Thinglink into what you teach. And so, being a technology coach, I was able to kind of delve into how could my teachers incorporate this into their classes. Well, around this time last year, they kind of reached out to the certified educators and said, "Hey, look, we're looking at doing 360 image tagging.
Hmm.
Would you guys be interested in beta testing it?" And so I signed up for it right away. I was intrigued. And it was right around the time my district was looking into purchasing physical breakout kits. And I
Cool.
thought, really, wouldn't this be a neat way to kind of bring the two together? Where, as a student, you're able to virtually be in this environment and figuring out clues to unlock different locks and kind of break out digitally. I saw online Tom Mulaney was talking about it, Mari Venturino was talking about it, and I really wanted to challenge myself to kind of create my own
Hmm.
digital breakout in a 360 image.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Now, walk us through what a typical breakout in a 360 environment looks like.
Certainly. I think any type of breakout has three components. You have to have your story, you have to have clues, and then you have your locks.
Hmm.
And what's nice is the 360 image is going to be the foundation of your story. So, for instance, I found an image on Flickr. I reached out to a photographer and said, "Hey, is it all right if I use your image?"
Hmm.
He said, "Not a problem. Go right ahead."
Cool.
And so the image was the inside of a room of Fort Washington
Hmm.
down in Maryland, which was part of um, the War of 1812. And so I thought this would be a really cool spin on introducing the War of 1812, talking about Francis Scott Key, the
Hmm.
burning of Washington, D.C. And so I was able to build that story around that location. And
Cool.
so one of the breakouts I did was the American flag that was raised at Washington, D.C., at the White House, was sent to Fort Washington
Hmm.
before the British invaded and burnt down the city. And so it was locked up in this room, and you have to break it out so it can get to Fort McHenry prior to Francis Scott Key being able to write the song.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Cool.
and so, using the clues in that room, you have to figure out how to unlock the box and rescue the American flag.
Very
Um,
cool.
so it's kind of neat. You have this 360 image that you're able to explore, and you're looking around the fort, and it just so happens there's a lockbox in the image. So I'm able to put my tag right on that box that has my Google form with all the locks on it, and I'm able to add in there the different clues, and they could be links to other videos that are now embedded in that image. It could be websites that the students can go to find information, images.
Hmm.
I can do audio.
Hmm.
In the background, I have music playing that's of that time period.
Yeah.
So it kind of really creates this environment that the students are exploring that connects to your content
Hmm.
and um, if you cannot do a physical breakout, just because maybe you don't have the equipment, or if your district does have kits, maybe another teacher hasn't signed out, this virtual one can now be put in its place.
That is very cool. Yeah, and you mentioned the different tags and what they correspond to. You can embed different items like YouTube videos and Google Forms. I think that's incredible, the opportunities and the creativity that you can use in creating one of these. Pretty awesome. I did get to look at the one, the Fort Washington one, just briefly, and it was really cool. It really immerses you in the experience when you've got that background music playing too, because it brings you to that era. And I really appreciate how you did that. You tied that all together. I thought that was real unique. The other question I had was, with these 360 breakouts, do you see those being used as tools in the classroom, as students individually working on these projects, or can it be small groups? Where do you see that being used most often?
I think that's up to the teacher. I actually, once I created my first one, and I shared it with Thinglink's education manager, a woman by the name of Susan Oxfenot, and she loved it, and she said, hey, would you be interested in kind of facilitating a month-long challenge for different teachers? They'd be able to sign up to try out the premium feature, because the 360 image tagging is a premium feature with a Thinglink account. They'd be able to get a chance to try it out and build their own, and you can kind of help them along the way, showing the different steps of how you created yours. And I was like, sure. So this past month, we ran a 360 breakout challenge with Thinglink, and we had some different teachers. One teacher is a school librarian, and she ran it with her students, and she had over 250 students completing her breakout of the library of her school. It's kind of like an introduction of getting to know the school library.
Right. What a great kind of icebreaker. That's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah, and she said, she ran it mostly individually, but a couple students asked if they could work in pairs, and she said it worked well. And the students are, if you're in a one-to-one environment, it works great. Students can work on it individually. If you have shared devices, the students can still work on it together and still be able to explore that environment and take turns being able to put in the different combinations on the Google form. So I think it's really up to how the teacher wants to run it.
Wow, that sounds so powerful. I'm starting to think now, I'm a fifth grade teacher, and with my own students at the beginning of the year, I could see this being such a powerful activity to get students involved in their in understanding their classroom environment. Because in the elementary world, there's so many different routines and procedures, and having students understand what are the parts of the room and what means what, and what a better way to do that than putting a 360 photo up and tagging parts of it and having students interact and solve problems and answer questions. I mean, that sounds like a really interactive, fun way to get students involved in starting off the year and breaking down some barriers of questions about the environment that they're in. So fantastic. I mean, the opportunities are endless, and exciting.
To jump in there, like you said, endless. The students themselves can then take on the role, whatever they're learning. If you can get that 360 image, then the students could be given the task of creating a breakout digitally around the content that they just learned and kind of build their own.
Wow.
And that would be neat to have a collection of student-created 360 breakouts.
Powerful.
With other students.
Powerful. Yeah. Well, so now along with that, it's kind of a complex project, because you have a lot of moving parts. You have a lot of pieces that you're piecing together in one of those 360 worlds. With all those moving parts, have you had any issues or challenges in creating some of these?
Of course. In the beginning, it was figuring out how to make Google Forms work for me. I use Google Forms as my digital locks. So I had to figure out how can I get creative with a form to have it be mimicking the physical locks of a Breakout EDU kit. So creating a word lock, a 3-digit or a 4-digit lock. I then started thinking outside the box there. One of the ones I created as an example for teachers, when I ran a faculty meeting with physical breakout kits, the teachers did the faculty meeting Breakout EDU game. And as they were completing, we wanted to have everyone come back together and kind of talk with grade levels on how they could incorporate this in their classrooms. So for those groups that finished early, I created a digital one, and it was kind of themed around the idea of breaking out of your PD day. And the schedule of the PD day was locked up, and the assistant superintendent is threatening to do a long full day lecture on a topic of his choosing. But if you can break into this box and get the schedule out, then you can carry on with a kind of like an ed camp style PD day.
Oh, cool. What a way to reach teachers' hearts, right? Is to get out of some of those long drive meetings.
And so I started getting a little creative, and I had a cell phone in the image, and so I kind of created using like the 6-digit code of a cell phone. That's a lock. You have to open that phone up to get a clue. So kind of figuring out how to make Google Forms work for me was kind of the first hurdle. And then once I started sharing these out there, getting feedback from other educators and other participants, wouldn't it be nice to have like a planning doc? Okay, so I created Google Doc. I put it in there. So using a strategy I learned from Alice Keeler, where you're able to force a copy. You click on the link, it forces a copy of the doc, and now the person has their own planning doc to fill out as they're going along. Then I had another teacher reach out and said, wouldn't it be neat to have the ability to have a teacher guide almost? And so I put in a tag that people can reach out to me if they're educators, and I'll email them a copy of a planning doc that then shows them the combinations to the locks as well as where those clues are to figure out those combinations. So along the way, just finding and hearing feedback and just adding those in. What's great about the Thinglinks are I can always go back in and edit and add and improve upon them when I need to.
Very cool.
Nothing's ever finalized. It's all kind of in beta itself.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, and you mentioned some different ways to create these VR worlds. One was you actually reached out to some of the photographers in Flickr, and that sounds like getting some really high quality images of some destinations. If you're making your own custom 360s, say you wanted to use your staff room or classroom, what are some tools that you've used to capture those images? Do you have to have a 360 camera? What can you use on your phone? What are some apps out there, some possibilities of creating that?
I do have a 360 camera, so I've tried using that, but also I have an iPhone, and so I found that Google Street View produces some great 360 photos. It's a little awkward the way you have to kind of hold the camera and keep snapping photos. Then there was another app that I found out there called Panorama 360. That's a paid app. I typically don't like paid apps. There's I can probably count the number of paid apps on one hand that I have on my iPhone, but that one is one of the ones that I would pay for. It's a powerful app. And that one also, it's kind of weird where it has you kind of tilting your wrist as you move around in a circle, and it gathers that image almost like a video at one time, and it kind of puts it together and makes it the 360 image. The key with Thinglink is your image has to be a resolution of a 2:1. And so with the Google Street View, with the Panorama 360, both of them give you the 2:1 resolution you need to have. And so either one of those apps have been successful for me.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, if there's a teacher out there who wants to get started with creating their own Breakout EDU, what would be some first steps that you'd give them?
I would first say, look at my blog. It's on EduBlogs. It is, give me 1 second.
No problem.
I don't remember what it was. It's Gallagher Tech. GallagherTech.edublogs.org. Yes.
Very cool.
There I have a couple different posts on there about how to create your own digital breakouts using Thinglink. This summer, Thinglink is going to be running a teacher challenge again. It's going to be, I think, the third summer in a row. And one of the challenges during that summer teacher challenge is going to be creating digital breakouts. As well as if you go to thinglink.com/edu and look at their pricing page, there's a way you can sign up for a 14-day free trial of the premium feature.
Okay.
So you can do a 360 tagging. And of course, if anyone has any troubles at all or questions, they can always reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at Gallagher_tech, and I get back to you and help you along the way.
No problem. Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much. Dan, any final thoughts to share before we sign off here?
It's always neat, whether it's students or educators, giving them a chance to see for the first time that 360 image and going around and they're exploring the image and then, oh, geez, there's a Google form embedded. Oh, there's a video over here. And just hearing that excitement is definitely something that you have to experience.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, if you are interested in finding out more about Thinglink VR and Breakout EDUs, make sure you reach out to Dan. He's a great guy, real friendly. We met on Twitter, so it's anxious to kind of see where these continue to go for you, because it sounds like such a powerful way to present content and get those using it involved in whatever's being presented. So thank you again, Dan, for your time, and best of luck as you keep moving forward.